Hi, Psychic Frank's Mystery School is in session. Today is um, the 16th, the Tower card, 16, Major Arcana. Yeah, of April. We just had the solar eclipse. And yes, this is. One second, I had it right here, and it vanished. I had the whole Psychic Frank Mystery School thing. Oh, here it is. Yes, this is Psychic Frank's Mystery School, apostrophe S. And this is the email channel. If you want to email me, you could use this, psychicfrank1@gmail.com. But if you want to see this over again, just go to my YouTube channel. Yeah, if you've been a loyal watcher of my shows every Saturday night at 7:30, SF Commons via BAVAC, Bay Area Video Coalition, is breaking in a new guy, and I don't want this to be a war of the wills. I'm just grateful I get to put 2 shows out there a month, and up until recently they were being shown. But hopefully Juvan gave me his word that things are resolved, and if they're not, get in touch with Juvan. He's a great guy. I love Juvan. He's the son I always wished I had, and he's got his hands full. And corporations, they become cults, and it's always the ones that have absolutely nothing, bring nothing to the table, get hired over and over and over again. That's city jobs. You never get fired from a city job. You could show up drunk, you could rape, pillage, whatever. No, I'm not. I don't know if that's true, but you could get away with pretty much. Once you get a city job, you're in for life. And somehow, SF Commons, because they have BAVAC has gotten the lottery there. They won the lottery there. They got all the money and aren't. Anyway, so. Anyway, let's let that all go. As I said, I've been given my word. Someone gave me their word, Javon, that this was resolved, and if I upload my shows, they'll be shown like they should. And it's time sensitive. For the last over 10 years, I've been begging and pleading. Why are you showing stuff from 3 or 4 years ago? But everything I'm talking about is time sensitive. Like right now, as I said, April's the most important month of the entire year. And astrologically, on the 20th, just a couple of days from now, today's here's my calendar. And here's the mountain astrologer. We're coming up to the Scorpio full moon, April 23rd. But it's going to be a few days before that. That we have the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. And for the United States of America, this is happening in our 5th house of creation. And for everybody, we just finished 6 months of every new moon was 20 degrees, whatever the constellation was at that time, and every full moon was 4 or 5 degrees. So we were told by all this. I'm a psychic healer who uses astrology, numerology, and the tarot cards. That's Gabby. Yeah, Gabby, good morning. Good morning, sweetheart. Oh, there she is. Yeah, she's up there. Yeah, Gabby, you're the pretty girl. So it's all about, for the United States of America, our healing, our 20-degree Chiron. And for Donald Trump, it's you look for 20 degrees in anybody's chart, and that's really what it's all about. We just finished the 6 months once again of every new moon, 20 degrees, whatever. So as I said, Donald was born with the North Node. His soul's path for his soul's involvement is 20 degrees Gemini conjunct his sun, 22 degrees. So his soul's been rotting for a while. That's the stench coming out. That's the stench everybody's talking about. And it's interesting because this is happening 21 degrees. So for Donald Trump, this is happening 21 degrees is all about his, his 9th house. conjunct his midheaven. This is a growth period for him. This is a total growth. That's why if they put a gag, or he's broken the gag order, and if he gets put in prison, in a jail, just for the life of the trial, even a few weeks in jail, 3 weeks, would be, he'd have a spiritual awakening. I think that would be a gift for him. I don't think he's ever thought. A lot of people think they're thinking, and what they're doing is rearranging their prejudices. So look for 20, if you have your birth chart, look for 20 degrees, whatever planet it is, and then whatever the planet that might be, and the house, and whatever aspects it might be happening. That's what this year is all about. So what's happening? Okay, so the last time, it was 14 years ago that Jupiter and Uranus were conjunct. That's going to happen April 20th here on the West Coast in the United States. And the last 14 years ago, it was all about Capricorn. Pluto was 5 degrees Capricorn. That was January 4th, 2011. Gabby. Okay, girl. Oh, sweetheart. Okay. Well, I thought she wanted to come over and see you guys, but she's working her way down to the feeding bowl. She's about to put on she'll eat now. And when she eats, she likes making noise. She's a noisy eater. But I know she's happy because she's eating. I was talking to a friend this morning who's my age. Actually, he's 90. I'm only 75. And he was raised in Southern California, and I mentioned growing up, everybody had chickens. I remember going out, try to get the hen's eggs without the rooster running after me, but, and God forbid I hurt the rooster. Not that I would, but, my grandmother loved that rooster. People, thank God I don't eat meat anymore, animal flesh. That's why my poop don't stink. On my last show, I said that. Oh, yeah, so anybody, vegans, that's one of the benefits. Many benefits. Okay, so Donald Trump is all about his North Node. Okay, so 14 years ago when Pluto was in Capricorn, and there was still a good, until just right now, it's leaving Capricorn. It's going to go back into 29 Capricorn. But we've had our Pluto return. Pluto return is over. It's still conjuncting, and from September through November, Pluto will be back in Capricorn. So Pluto in Capricorn was all about envisioning how it could be, because we were seeing all of the worst scenarios that could be. And we were seeing, okay, trickle down, does it bottom down, does it work now? And we were imagining in our subconscious, whether we were conscious or not conscious of it, we were dreaming about what would it be like to have a world would trickle up instead of trickle down. Fat cats put their fingers in the holes. Nothing was going to trickle down. That was so wrong. And even Joe Biden, God bless him, says that, he says trickle. He even used the word trickle down economics is wrong. And yet nobody's saying tear down those airports. It's not just L.A. They're all over the country, Ronald Reagan airports. Let's start tearing down statues of Ronald Reagan. And that anorexic, Nancy Reagan, if she stood sideways, you couldn't see her. She was anorexically thin and totally just say no. That's why I had a London breed. Thank God she's out of San Francisco now. She's in China. Oh, there's so much I want to cover here. Stay there, London. Stay there. And now, okay, so as I said, we had all these, to dream and to envision. We get to start a new 14-year cycle starting this 20th of this month with the Jupiter. It's not just a one-day event. It's going to be active the whole rest of the year. And there's a lot of year left. Jupiter's helping us break out of the beliefs in ways that many of us will be viewing things that need to be shattered and need to be reformed. So the activation of the new paradigms that's what this combination of Jupiter-Uranus is all about. So Uranus, let me get a piece of paper here. Okay. The planet Uranus is oh no, I'm trying to make the symbol for Uranus. Okay, see that? It's the head going through the hips, giving birth. This is about Herschel. He discovered it, Uranus. Yeah, so it's there's the head going through the hips, giving birth to the new you. It's this, Uranus is associated with the energies and principles of the cosmos. It's guiding us to shatter, break out of the ways of being that are out of alignment with the energies of the cosmos. We're as far out of space as we will ever gonna get, and the fifth element, the most important element, there's earth, air, space, earth and water. That's what all these planets are. Mars, and they're just bringing back pieces of Earth, what Earth used to be. But it made me think. Okay, we got fire, air. You need air for fire. But space, you can't breathe space. Space is an element. It's where all the other elements come from. It's everything. Everything comes from space. But we don't see space as anything as a vehicle, to get through. We're NASA's going through what we're looking for. Moving into alignment with our true selves and what is true and right and balance. We are so out of balance now. 1%, 99%. You don't have to be anything. You can see that's not balanced. That's totally out of balance. And then we get like London Breed, who's totally standing on the shoulders of Nancy Reagan. Richard Nixon, as I said in my last show, it's worth repeating. John Hunt, I think he was a big wig in the Nixon. He did time. He went to jail for Nixon. Nixon never went to jail. That's all changing now. As I said, what's happening now could have happened back in the 70s, early 70s there. With Jupiter and Uranus profoundly supporting our getting clarity about what these new paradigms are all about. We've got to start really. NASA's only job is to protect us from asteroids. Everything else is military. Whoever owns space now is going to rule the universe, so they think. Yeah, so 14 years ago was the last time we had January 4th, 2011. And now we got 3 more months coming up of Pluto backing up from Aquarius. We have a little taste now of what all Aquarius is all about. We get to start a whole new 14-year cycle. And the energies of the cosmos, which is love. Okay, this is a book that's really just came out in April. It was around 4 or 5 months ago I heard about it, and I tried to get it, and then I realized, Frank Reed, it was not going to be available until April, so it came out in April, and I have a copy, and it really is amazing, by Eric, Leskowitz, MD. Biofield Healing, Phantom Limbs, Group Energies, and Gaia Consciousness, the energies of life, and the mystery of life energy. This is a doctor, a medical Western medicine guy, who, I'll just read one little bit in here. I put a book stop in it, because in the very, very beginning it says, shifting perspectives. What's the problem? Question mark. The heart is a pump. The eye is a camera. The brain is a computer. These are all quotes. These metaphors are at the core of every American high school biology class and are used to describe the function and various organs in the human body. They're certainly helpful as far as they go, but I don't put these images on the one picture is worth 1,000 words category. In fact, I think they are wrong terms that have sent modern science and medicine and even society itself off in a mistaken and dangerous direction. Of course, the metaphor of the human body as a complex machine is enticing, and has led to many valuable medical surgical advances. But it is a fundamentally short-sighted metaphor because it completely overlooks the essential component of being alive. The sea of invisible and intangible life energies that we literally swim in, the reservoir of vitality that infuse us with profound resilience. This is our most direct connection to the world at large and to each other, a connection we have been ignoring at our peril. And then he goes on and on about, as I said, I just got this book recently, but, you know, he talks about in medical school, he realized it was the Greek term until it found it was just a way of saying that the cause wasn't known. They're just researching. Researching means they don't know. They're doing outer space research. Hey, you know, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And yeah, then as I said, you know, my own experience when men were dropping like flies from AIDS back in the early '80s, they're still. When I became a healer, when I realized I was a healer, and this doctor turned to me and he said, I said, couldn't you give him any kind of hope? And he very automatically looked at me, put his clipboard down, and said, "Hope is cruel, Frank." He didn't say Frank. You know, he was trained. He was trained in medical school. That's what. If you're sending your kid to medical school, you're training. That's what they're teaching him. Hope is cruel. They're living in a very terrible world, you know, and it's changing now. They got the power. Western medicine has the power, and they're not giving an inch. And so get this book. It's really worth your, because if you're a Reiki healer, if you're do any kind of, if you're a healer in the making or an established healer, like myself, who are really up against, you know, people think, my own doctor I've seen for like 40 years, 30 years, actually had me tested for syphilis out of my blood because he thinks I have a syphilitic brain. You know, they just, for him to understand what I'm doing, like for London Breed, let's use her. She's a great target example. For her to accept, she's totally against harm reduction. Harm reduction works. She'd have to also accept the fact that she killed her sister. Her sister, harm reduction could have saved heroin addict, all kinds of overdoses. Doctors have known this. As I said, Richard Nixon was sitting there bullshitting with John Dean, and an intern walked in with a manila envelope, thick manila envelope, and handed it to the president, Nixon. And John Dean said, "Oh, what's that?" And Nixon said, "Oh, this is the report. I've ordered this, you know, months and months ago, and it's the final word on if cannabis, you know, the whole thing about the cannabis thing, you know." And John Dean, this is in his book, one of John Dean's books. I think the only book he wrote. I don't know. It's the one I read. And he said, watching Nixon turn red with anger. And just really, you could see the volcano erupted, and he finally tore it all up and threw it in the garbage. And then, of course, came Nancy Reagan and just say no, you know, which you know. Anyway, let her go. Let she rest in what's left. Anyway, and Ronald Reagan. Let's get his name off of all these. Let's start really standing up to, you know, the powers that be. Oh yeah, so we got San Francisco. You know, for those of you who don't live in San Francisco, thank you for watching this. But in San Francisco, where I've been living since since early 70s, early 70s, and I love this city. In '82, I became enlightened here, enlightened enough. Let's put it that way, and what happened was I lost my train of thought there. And so, as I said, I'm really concerned now about who's going to be our next mayor. And there's this guy named Aaron Piskin or something like that. And they're priming him to be right in there. Now, back 20 years ago when I was involved, after Kathy Acker died in '97, I threw myself into the cannabis movement because I said I'm going to develop my healing abilities. Yeah, Gabby, thank you, honey. And And that's when that 10 years of reading Ferocious, I just needed bodies to work on and everything. And right after 215 passed, all around there was this big celebration downtown at some bar. And it was crowded, standing room only. I went with a few friends from AA, from the cannabis movement, and there was a bunch of. I had just started my show, so it was around 15 years ago, and I was getting I was winning awards. Psychic Frank, award-winning psychic. So there was Aaron Piskin, a drink in one hand, and bullshitting with some guys. He was three sales to the win, and a few people there knew who I was, liked what I was doing, and I introduced myself. Hi, I'm Psychic Frank. I have a TV show on cable access TV, and he said very condescendingly, "I don't watch TV." Yeah, it gets in the way of your drinking, So so he's no friend of SF Commons. The man doesn't even watch TV, and hopefully, he'll start understanding how important SF Commons is and how, he needs to watch TV, especially cable access TV, and check out what's going on in this city. But as I said, I was so fortunate in '82. I went to this. I don't know how it managed. I think it was a miracle how it all. Everything's a miracle. It's a mystical world, man. And I ended up in this $30,000 30-day rehab at St. Mary's called Starting Point. And I'm so glad I went in there because after I had this, I think I died and came back. I had this amazing experience. September 19th, '82. I got up off the floor, picked up the phone, and somehow got in touch with Frankie. She's no longer here, who was the nurse on duty that morning. She met me in front of St. Mary's there, the site on Hay Street there, and with a paper bag with some clean socks in it, and that's all I had. And thank God, after that, I got in touch with the Carmelite nuns up the street from St. Mary's, the cloistered order. They gave me the will, I believe, to continue doing, and I stayed in the program for 2 years. That's all I needed. And I know they say no one graduates from here. F you, I did. I'm not a joiner, and I knew that I had to, get a handle on this bad habit. But, and thank God I had these old, good guys with like 50, 60 years of, at least 50 years of really good society, good, sober people. And these were people who were really like true AAs, just were the best guys. Now they're all, an alcoholic would be caught dead in an AA meeting. It's become all these egos and shit. But anyway, back then, thank God, I caught the tail end of it. I had some amazing sponsors, guys who took me under their wing. And I remember one day down at the financial district, the new Old St. Pat's, I raised my hand, and honesty is the whole thing, and I said, I'm more miserable today than I was when I was drinking and using. I said, I read this book, they held up this book, big book, Alcoholics Anonymous, and I said, and I'm more miserable today than I ever was, and I've read this book over and over and over again. And anyway, everybody, and anyway, when I left, this guy came up to me, put his arm around me, this old sage, God bless him, Frank, and his name was Frank too. And he said, you didn't read that book cover to cover. I said, yeah, I did. He said, did you read the index? I said, no. He said, William James, Varieties of Religious Experience, Carl Jung, yada, yada, yada. Well, I never went back to another meeting. I had to like cut off some ties, but I knew after, I'm still reading Varieties of Religious Experiences. But, but the old timers would tell me, if you were like car thief or horse thief or thin or any kind of a criminal, say you were a supervisor in San Francisco City Hall under the reign of London Breed and really, all part of the Ed Lee bit, make the war on the poor instead of the war on poverty. If you were one of these guys, and didn't work on the steps, you're going to be a sober one of those guys. They say if you were a horse thief and didn't work on the steps. So, there's no way. I was thinking, how could I get Aaron's attention? If I was to go to a town hall meeting and mention to him, have you, what do you got, been sober a year now, one of those 1 year miracles. Did you work on the 12 steps? Did you make amends? Did you work the steps? Did you work the steps, man? So many people, there's not many people I know today, but my old buddy, 90-year-old older brother up in the Haight, I said to him around 10 years ago, I was talking to him in his parlor, we were having a little, pot party and playing with his dog. And I mentioned, didn't you work the steps, man? And he said, no, that's what you're here for. Even these guys with old time sobriety, I mentioned to them, what about cannabis, man? Well, if you because their whole thing was, well, if you get into cannabis, you will, and then if someday you couldn't get it, then you drink. Get out of here. Many times I've been out of weed, and I've never, ever thought of taking alcohol any more than I'd think of slitting my wrists or committing suicide on, it's just what I wouldn't do, And actually, this intelligent woman, she was apartment sitting for one of the guys in this building. I met her in the laundry room a few months ago, and she was a pretty bright girl, again, in her 30s, young enough to be my daughter. And I said, well, before you leave, come up for a second. No charge. Let me just talk to you about, what's going on. So she sat here for a few minutes. And then I mentioned about cannabis. And she very nonchalantly and very matter of fact said, well, I smoked some just the other night. I don't care if it kills my brain cells. And I said, well, where did that come from? You seem like such an intelligent woman. Where did you buy this whole bit about cannabis kills brain cells? I said, if that was the case, I'd be a drooling vegetable in Laguna Honda. I said, no, alcohol, tobacco. These are all the big corporations. These are things that are killing your brain cells. I said, oh, don't. But this is but I said, thank God I went to the laundry room that day and met that woman, or I would never have known it. Oh, like I say, back, and I won't talk about it anymore today, but London Breed filled this room down at the Federal Building with all of her bootlickers. And they all had their minds made up of where they get in there. And all the intelligent brains, men and women, doctors, lawyers, Indian chiefs, shamans, healers, caregivers, Reiki, all these people who knew cannabis works were totally ignored. And thanks to London Breed. So as I said, Aaron, did you work? So as I said, I've seen people escorted out of City Hall for just raising their voice to London Breed. So, and at a town hall, I came close to being thrown out of. I was Dean President because I mentioned you and everybody else is up London Breed's ass. Oh yeah, he didn't like hearing that. So as I said, I'm never going to get a chance to be in the same room with Aaron Piston again, and it's a good chance he'll be our next mayor. Unless we get somebody else in there who knows what's going on and watches, at least connects to and understands SF Commons, man. So the first thing I would ask him is congratulations on being on a dry drunk. I'm glad you're off the sauce. Have you worked the steps? And they'd escort me out of there, not bodily, but that's what they do. City Hall now, just like Donald Trump would beat his guards, his thugs. If anybody protests, if he didn't like what you say, well, we don't. In City Hall in San Francisco, we don't beat you up. We just escort you out and humiliate you, and make you realize this is London Breed's world, and welcome to it. And she's against harm reduction. She actually said that. So for you, Dean President, well, not Dean. If you were an alcoholic, Dean, you'd be at least more interesting. You're such a bore. Anyway, Chapter 5, How It Works. This is for you, Aaron Piskin, whatever your name is. Rarely have we seen, and this is about Donald Trump too, because it's for all addicts. It's all addicts out of control, who've lost control. Man, women overboard. Rarely have we seen, this is from the big book. I mean, they've altered it. They've taken Carl Jung, William J's out of the index. So this is probably the only place you're going to hear it. Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program, usually men and women who are constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves. There are such unfortunates. They are not at fault. They seem to have been born that way. They are naturally incapable of grasping and developing a manner of living which demands rigorous honesty. Their chances are less than average. There are those, too, who suffer from grave emotional and mental disorders. Donald Trump, London Breed. But many of them do recover if they have the capacity to be honest. So, yeah, we're in recovery now. We're strung out on everything, except what's good. So we got to purge. So this is what's happening now when Pluto backs up into Aquarius. Yes, Gabby, my darling. Yes, my sweet angel. Let me get the cards now. Gabby, oh yes, yes, my sweetheart. Oh, my, okay, honey, please. Okay, that's enough. Yeah, that's enough, baby. Okay, let's see what, I'm going to pick a couple of cards for you all. And let's see what I can do for you. Let's take a nice clearing breath. Yeah, so because they're telling me right now, that's why I was quiet just then. Okay, because on the 20th, this amazing Jupiter-Uranus conjunction is happening 20 degrees, and the only 20 degree anything on the United States of America's chart is our wounded hero planet Chiron. So it's all about using that cosmic, what do they call it, the psychic wound. Using that psychic wound, and I have some things written here about the psychic wound. If you find a psychic wound in an individual or a people, America, there you also find the path to consciousness, for it is the healing of our psychic wound that we come to, through the healing of our psychic wound, we come to know ourselves. In the evolution of consciousness, our greatest challenge is always our richest opportunity. The Wisdom of Anxiety. That's a great book. I tell you, it's How to Stress Wisely. It just came out. How worry and intrusive thoughts are gifts to help you heal. Anxiety asks you to embrace the gift of who you are. It's the very qualities that you've been shamed for that you now need to wrap up like a hurt animal. And I almost said hunted. Oh my God. Talking about your Freudian slips. Let's read that again, okay? Gabby, please, okay, give it a little rest, honey. Anxiety asks you to embrace the gift of who you are. You're awesome. I love you. I do. I love everybody in this city. You know, we've homogenized all these cities there, LA, New York, blah, 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 blah. Oh, Denver, everything looks alike. San Francisco has this uniqueness now that we've been shoving mission. The Mission used to be a fabulous place, and I loved the Mission. And now, as I said, they want it all to be homogenized. They want all Mill Valley. The only Latinos are the ones that work for the whites. No. If you find a psychic wound in an individual or a people, there you also find a path to consciousness, for it is in the healing of our own psychic wounds that we come to know ourselves. In the evolution of consciousness, our greatest challenge is to always our richest opportunity. It's always our. So yeah, what's going on now? I've been waiting for this since the '60s, since Reagan, since Nixon got pardoned. I was all set to see Nixon. I really want us to get through this, and I love Obama. Yeah, he was a kid when he was elected president, but President Obama, and I respect you. Do you see now that letting Cheney off the hook for crime moon, wars of crime wars, letting W and Cheney? Why Cheney came to the White House a few weeks after Obama moved in with Michelle and the kids, and in the middle of the night, a limousine showed up, and a wheelchair. The chauffeur got a wheelchair out of the trunk, and Dick Cheney was wheeled into the White House. And the very next day, Obama sent Nancy Pelosi, his ballerina boyfriend from Chicago, Rahm Emanuel, and they both said the same thing. Rahm Emanuel was even rude about it, because I remember one of the press said when he announced that they were not going to press charges for Cheney and W for war crimes, and I think it was one of the guys out there now, one of the head reporters, the good guy, said really gave Rahm Emanuel, and Rahm Emanuel said, "What are you, deaf? Didn't you hear what I said?" You know, that Chicago rich thug stuff, you know. So Obama, hindsight, come clean now. You're not going to be president again. Admit you made a huge mistake by not pardoning, you know, come clean. Because you know your daughters aren't stupid. Eventually they're going to figure out what I just said. That they're going to realize in the epithet of America's democracy that you could have changed things, but you were center right. And you wanted to be right. We need all the way left. Capiche? You know, that's why, and you couldn't, anybody like myself who goes out there and starts talking the truth, you're going to get, escorted out, don't make waves. This style is like, this guy goes to hell and all his friends are there and they're all and poop up to their necks. And then he hears this chanting, behind this door. And he says, oh, they're singing, maybe it'll be a nice place to be. And they're all singing, don't make waves, because then will cover you over your head, So, yeah, they don't want us to make waves. Make waves, make necessary trouble. It was early one morning. I pointed to John Lewis's picture. I have a whole tribute here for John Lewis. John Lewis, there he is, right there. Then there's Mohammed, everybody, Martin Luther King, everybody I love. So anyway, one morning, it was like 4 a.m, and I was sitting here, and all of a sudden, John Lewis came to me and starts telling me to make necessary trouble. And once I was sure who I was talking to, I said, come on, man, that was 10 years ago. These people are gone. No, make this. So that's why I all of a sudden thought it was so important to remind people that it was SF Commons got the contract to Bayvac. And Bayvac, a week after SF Commons moved in, let Comcast quit tagging our shows. Our name's on that. You pick up your remote and it says SF Commons. It used to have Psychic Frank's Mystery School, Mohammed Mustafas, or so. People in different countries love their name. They're proud of that name. Their name represents it. To see their name on TV was that that helped their self-esteem a lot. And they just get off. And it was supposed to be temporary. It's still there. That's why whoever's going to be our next mayor, let's get the programs back. Let's get the departments back. A lot of them there are just in name only. We could staff them again. We could do all this. We could get the noise police out there. We could get the housing people to, put boundaries for the residents. Right now, there's a family living on the roof next door to me. I thank God I don't walk around naked, or these people will be given a free show. I finally got them to stop because I got a picture of a vicious animal going, ah, and I put it there, and they're Chinese, and I think they don't like symbols like that, but that's me, So, yeah, Pam Gregory, I'm not an astrologer. I know about astrology, and I'm learning every day. And oh yeah, I just got on the phone. I'm still breaking in this new computer, and I found out that if I go through this iMovie thing they have, this woman's going to teach me. Apple will do it, and I don't have to buy. I don't have to upload my shows to YouTube. It won't take hours, and I can. The good thing is when I make a mistake, like saying only women were bitches. No, men are bitches too. Just don't be a bitch. I could have deleted that. And then, and she's going to teach me how to splice and do all this stuff. So, I'm learning. I'm 75 and I'm learning. And I guess by me constantly saying I have no computer skills, I was reinforcing that. I had no interest in learning computer skills, but I realized all shamans and mystical healers have to adjust to whatever environment they're put in. Time is cyclistic. It's not linear. It's non-linear. Let me cut the cards for you all and see what you guys need to know. What do you all need to know? Do your mirror work, they're telling me. Glance in the mirror and tell yourself that you love you. Tell yourself you're beautiful. Tell yourself, I'm going to love you like rain or come shine. I was in the jungles of Guatemala for a few years. In the late 60s, late 70s, that was it. I got to stay down there before Ronald Reagan sent the guerrilla soldiers and, machine guns were all over the place. I got to stay there for a year before, the poop hit the fan. And then I went on a big drunk. Until 82. And then in 82, I sobered up. And then one of my sponsors, George, I remember him, it was Christmas, and he said, well, this is your first sober Christmas, Frank, come shopping with me. So I said, okay. I had no money. I was couch surfing. I had no place to live, no animals, no money, no job. But I was sober. Anyway, I'd been sober around a total year around then, Anyway, I was walking around Macy's with this guy, and I kept on seeing this guy cruising me. And I just, and then I who is that? And then I realized I don't know that guy, but he sure is cute. And then I kept on going, and then finally my friend was checking out. And I was I was with him, and I said, you know what? I gotta go talk to somebody. I'll be right back. And I went over a few yards away to this, and I went to introduce myself, and it was a mirror. I was cruising myself for 3 hours. I had forgotten what I looked like. In Guatemala, it's such a different pace. The pace is so easy going down there. At least it was back in the 70s. And there's no like mirrors and shiny, in the morning I saw myself and that was it. And then when I got back to the States and total went on a binge a couple of years, I wanted to die. I didn't want to live. I wanted to drink myself to death, and I would say that to anybody who asked me. But the universe didn't want me to go. They wanted me to come back and do what I'm doing. So I thought it was a funny story. So love yourself. Love, what did I say? After 50, you get the face you deserve. Okay. Okay. Here's 6 cards for you all. Okay. Here's what's going on for us. What's going on against you. And the final outcome. Okay. Here's the way you feel about yourself. We are getting in touch with our psychic abilities. You notice she's wearing this bracelet on her left hand. This is, she's lost. Thinks people, maybe a husband, a loved one, she's experienced a loss, but she still goes on. Queens have channels, they're channels, and this is channeling mental knowledge now. So get your guru, get your guide. There's so much, angels exist. Larry Dossey. Oh yeah, this is important. I got an email today from a guy in Oregon who got this book, and he said, Frank, just one sentence. He said, page 182, 183. non-dual awareness. Okay, and I naturally hadn't gotten that far in the book yet, so I read it and I realized the term. Larry Dossey back in the late '80s wrote a few books. And he's one of the few, like Larry Dossey, Bernie Siegel, Western medicine doctors who were really into energy here, mystery of life energy and energy healing and alternative healings, and angels and total angels. And he coined the term non-local, get into that non-locality, non-local space, and this is what this guy's calling non-dual awareness, a state of mind in which there is no distinction between the observer and the observed, between the thought and the thinker. It's when the sense of I, quote unquote, disappears. And it's interesting because Aries, North Node's in Aries, it's all about I, me, mine, disappears, and all that is experiences. So replace that with I am and I have. Knowledge and cosmic knowledge is coming through for me now. All that is experienced is the state of awareness itself, without the commentary, judgment, and reactivity that are so normal and part of our waking life. The term is translation of an ancient Sanskrit word, Avita, whatever, and denotes a high spiritual attainment, one whose importance has been stressed by many spiritual masters. But what does this have to do with smoking? It goes on and on. This guy's amazing. I'm reading a little bit of it every day because it's like a fine, I hate to use the word wine, but a fine bud. You don't want to smoke it all up at once. I want to enjoy this. Okay, so yeah, this is knowledge. Just channel that knowledge, man. The Zen master, the enlightened master, takes the student out to the lake. What do you want? Enlightenment. He holds him under the water. What do you want? Enlightenment. He holds her under the water again and again, longer and longer and longer. Finally, it's almost drowned, and she comes up for air. When you want enlightenment, the ones who want that breath of air, that's when you get it. So wake up and get that going. We're like, oh wow, more than knowledge, more than winning the lottery. Another day to in Earth School to get a taste of cosmic knowledge. Expect the unexpected. This is what's going on, what you want right now. We need a miracle, and we're getting it, man. But you're not going to hear it very rarely on the network news. If it bleeds, it leads. If it thinks, it stinks. And a lot of what we're doing now is we're thinking, We're thinking. Like Aretha said, you better think. The universe is full of magical things, patiently waiting for our wits to grow sharper. And then we have a nitwit running for president, Donald Nitwit Trump. Yeah, April is exceedingly intense and full of surprises. Expect the unexpected. Right now, Mercury's retrograde, and until the 25th. So, and this whole thing about people scream, oh, Mercury's retrograde. Now, Mercury's retrograde in Aries, along with the North Node, and Chiron in Aries, Venus in Aries. Yeah, there's a lot of this Aries energy there now. So, with Mercury, there's all this people, oh, Mercury's retrograde. No, Mercury retrograde is a good thing. And this one's especially good because it's happening in Aries. And the United States of America is officially, 1 month. Spring is here. America is understanding now. We're building a foundation this year. It's going to take us through the next 9 years. So expect the unexpected with Mercury retrograde. Usually, it stands true. You shouldn't really make any big commitments or sign anything binding, unless you really, really, really are up against something. or have to, it's for whatever reasons. But for the most part, keep on going within and keep on using this time. Things will appear in your life that need finishing. I just got something. I was wrongly billed when I was a hit and run victim last 2 Marches ago. The 15th of March, a motorcycle guy knocked me in the air. And I was told because it was a hit and run, I wasn't going to be pay anything for it. You know, it was, the city compensates for that. But again, the hospitals, even St. Mary's, beloved St. Mary's, are privatized all these departments. And the guy that did I was only there for 10 minutes in the CAT scan room. The whole experience was an hour. I didn't take any drugs. They gave me an ice pack and a bandage, an ace bandage to keep the ice pack on. And then that one department's been after me for a couple of $1,000-something, so I have to go all the way up now and show them and get it all straightened out. But as I'm saying, they're privatizing everything. Everything can be changed around. Culturally, in the United States and in San Francisco, we could get a mayor who will put back the departments, staff the departments that London Breed took an axe to. And she keeps on pointing to all these things that made the city. No, when you destroyed all these departments that were pro-resident, you opened the door for everything that happened here. London Breed, stay in China. Do us a favor, man. Stay there. Stay there. This is our fears. The chains are loose. They don't understand. Their hands are free. They can unchain. Unchain my heart, baby. Set me free. Yeah, this is our fears that we bought. Like the dog who every time he tries to leave the cage that's wired, he gets a shock. After eventually he just, what the hell, man? Just stay here and die. No. We could stand up now. We realize... we can undo. We can. Aaron, ask him. If somebody's going to get his attention, ask him, hey, Aaron, are you working the steps, man? It used to be AAs. Oh, my stepfather, Charlie, the murderous drunk. Oh, he hated AAs. Yeah, the names he would call them, because Maggie every now and then would, one of her girlfriends would just say, your husband needs to be in the program or something. But this was the 50s, the 1950s, and Charlie hated it. Oh, he called them the worst names. Sort of like Donald Trump. Donald Trump's not, he's drunk on greed. As I said, the stuff I read about they're capably incapable, they have mental disorders. Okay, here's... what's going for us now is Saturn, taking us out of one playpen and putting us in a better, more playpen we've grown into. So Saturn loves you when you're older. It's rough on you when you're until you're 29. But after 29, Saturn becomes the hand of destiny, fate. It puts doors where there were no doors. And if you're having a rough time with Saturn, of course, Saturn's trying to giving us something. I almost said try. Give us something. Oh, I got to go. Okay, we've got 1 more minute here. This is what's going for us. We're getting given a second chance. And wow, this is a year. We're starting a 10-year cycle now that's going to be very prosperous on every inkling of that word. It's going to be prosperity. Physically, healthily, mentally prosperous. I love you. Say goodbye, Gabby. A big breakthrough's on its way. I love you guys. Watch my YouTube channel, Psychic Mike's Mystery School, and I will see you in a couple of weeks. Happy April.